2015 continuation hearing. Lucas County Zoning Board Appeals Review, Lucas County Zoning Case Issue 714, Pleasant Ridge Energy LLC, Pleasant Ridge Energy Project. Michael Canal, John Ditzel, Richard Capron, Diana Iverson, Howard Zimmerman, Joan Huseman, and Vince Mills.
All right, take this opportunity to welcome everybody here this evening. We've taken a look ahead into March for some dates. So if everybody has a pencil and wants to jot these down, we're looking at, we'll be back here on March the 10th. That'll be 6:30 here at the Walton Center. We're looking ahead to the following week, the 16th and the 18th. On those, we'll have more information on the location with regard to those. And the following week, there's nothing. So then we're looking at the 30th and 31st. So in March, we have 5 scheduled dates. March the 10th, March the 16th, March 18th, March 30th, and March 31st. A little bit more information will come out as far as location and time for sure on those, but count on the 10th, 6:30 at this location. So with that, again, just want to take the opportunity to remind everybody to be a good audience to those speaking up here. I've heard a few comments. We need to really try to keep the noise levels down so that everyone can hear. It's a little difficult to hear in this location, so if we can keep any chatting throughout the hearing, we'll try to keep that till break. If there's something that's very important that you need to, go ahead and step out, go downstairs, talk about it, do whatever you need to do, come back. All right? With that, I've got a list here of some interested people that would like to speak this evening. We'll do our best to get through this list, and then we'll continue on we've got about 2 or 3 lists floating around here, so we're trying to work our way through this as best as possible. Is a Marshall Newhouse available this evening? Yes. Please come forward, Mr. Newhouse. Would you like to speak at the podium or sit down?
I'll try the podium.
All right, we'll go ahead and give that a whirl then. All right. Mr. Newhouse, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this case and on hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. All
right. Can you please state your name and address for our court reporter, and then go ahead with your presentation.
Marshall Newhouse, 13407 Capron Road, Capron, Illinois. C-A-P-R-O-N. Good evening. I come to you from Boone County, up on the Wisconsin state line. I have been a board member up in that county board member for 11 years. I have served on the zoning committee and chaired that for all of those 11 years, and I'd like to share some of the things that I've found. And I would also like to congratulate the Livingston County people for taking on this task of educating yourselves before voting on this huge project. As with any Illinois county, you are given the authority and responsibility to make decisions that will affect every one of your constituents. I'm going to speak about one that is difficult to grasp, and that is decommissioning. In reality, asking a county official to look at a scenario that is likely to occur long after he or she is retired is asking a lot, and I get that. I will do my best not to put you to sleep in the few minutes you allow me. Part of the request before you is a section of the special use that deals with the taking of this potential project of 136 turbines down sometime in the decades down the road. You may feel you are protected and have done your due diligence by adding in print some facts and figures, that should accurately portray the cost of getting your county back to what it looks like today without those turbines. I spent about 6 hours the other day, over 2 afternoons, calling multiple businesses in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin, getting their opinion on some of your numbers. The cumulative effect of these numbers are in front of you now. They are my numbers, and I hope they stir you to open your phone books.
Mr. Newhouse, I don't think anybody's handed out your information yet.
My apologies. In that packet, hopefully you will find 2 articles from 2 of the trade magazines within the wind industry, and then a piece of paper with some numbers on it. Is that correct? Okay. Should I begin again, sir?
Go ahead.
So these are my numbers, and I hope they stir you to open your phone books and do your own research on this important issue. In my opinion, the WEX developer has done a job that is lacking in substance, and in some cases is just factually inaccurate. On page 8 of the applicant's decommissioning plan, if you have that anywhere near you, you will see multiple line items which make up the expense table. I concentrated on 2 of them. The first was crane rental. If you have a copy of the decommissioning plan, you will see that under crane and disassembly of turbine, there's a projected expense of $48,000 per turbine. Now, if I could use a Manitowoc 3000 as an example, the rental on this machine is $75,000 per month, with a setup and teardown expense of an additional $50,000. These numbers are 2 years old, so they could be more by now. That $50,000 isn't a one-shot deal. It's every time that machine needs to cross under a transmission line or any obstruction where height is an issue and the machine needs to be broken down. So depending on agreements with the county, there may be restrictions on crossing roads that would keep the 1 million pound machine in pieces so the road is not destroyed by the pressure put down by the tracks. Now, if I could ask you to turn to the 2 articles that were given to you.
Mr. Newhouse, let me stop you just real quick. So we get these admitted in evidence correctly, do you want to give me a numbering as you're going to present these 1, 2, 3 so we can get them, we'll call them Newhouse, and then accordingly.
Okay, Newhouse will be, the first article will be early detection in wind turbines. That would be item number 1.
Very good.
Turbine maintenance, pay now or surely pay later, will be item number 2. And my printed sheet with the numbers for the net cost of decommissioning your project will be number 3.
Very good. Okay, you can go ahead and continue. Thank you.
Articles from Wind Currents Shaping the Future of Energy and from North American Wind Power show that I have given the least expensive scenario based on industry documents. So if we could go to that first one, early detection in wind turbine, it's talking about turbine failures. The 3rd page in that article is a table. At the top of that table shows cost repairs, the crane cost by itself being $100,000 for the rental of this machine. We could go to the 2nd article, turbine maintenance, from the North American Wind Power. It's a publication within the wind industry. On the first page of that article, right above the box at the bottom right-hand corner, there's one paragraph that states, mobilization of a main lift crane onto a site to repair one turbine can exceed $200,000.
Okay. We need to find our number 2. I'm not sure that we got 2. Ours says goodbye cranes and low climbing. No, we definitely do. That's what we got for 2.
This is supporting that as a case of there are questions. This is very relevant.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I must apologize. You've gotten one page out of 2 pages, but it's not the page that I was hoping to get. I will submit these in evidence, but it looks like you're not being able to see
The second article, of which you don't have, again, the lower right-hand corner of the first page, is a paragraph which states, the mobilization of a main lift crane onto a site to repair one turbine can exceed $200,000. And that does not include the expenses for the crew, tools, and equipment. Moreover, it can take 25 truckloads to transport a big crane to a job site and 2 to 4 days to assemble the crane. I will have these submitted into evidence. My apologies. Depending on the size and availability, it states the cost could easily jump to $200,000 per machine. Depending on how many turbines you intend to decommission at any one time, adding an additional $152,000 per turbine over the stated $48,000 in your decommissioning plan would put the bid that you have submitted to you in shambles before the crane even starts. The second expense I would like to interest you in is the wind turbine foundation removal. Above the huge underground slab of cement needed to support a turbine is a column of cement that protrudes out of the ground. It is filled with rebar, and on it, the base of the tower is bolted. In your decommissioning, you have an estimated expense of $12,500 to remove this cement column to a depth of 54 inches. There is a good chance these dollars are going to be a fraction of what is required for the job. 2 businesses I contacted that do this type of work in the world of demolition provided 2 bids. The first was a company that utilizes a large hydraulic jackhammer on a backhoe that pulverizes the steel and cement mixture, moves back, allows the cleanup of a few small inches, goes back to pulverizing and repeats the process until the removal of your 54 inches of pedestal is achieved. Their bid for this was $50,000, which includes the removal of the material to a site willing to take the product at no cost. The second bid for this project was a company using drills to open up alleys in the pedestal, inserting dynamite, covering the blast area, then blasting, uncovering, scraping, loading, and trucking the material off-site. This process is repeated over and over again until your 54-inch removal is achieved. Their bid was $60,000. Both companies stressed that it is an amazing degree of cement hardness after a few decades, with the work of removing these structures being slow and arduous. I looked at 2 separate revenue generators spelled out by the applicant, the copper and structural steel. you will find the estimated revenues on page 9 of the applicant's plan. The local scrap steel yards I spoke with are strictly by the books out of the Chicago markets. I was told that the bids I'm used to receiving for used electric motors and generators coming off of my farm would be the same that would be received for the generators and the nacelles of your decommissioned project. The generators would be dropped off at the steel yards. The yard knows the generator is 12 to 13% copper, and the rest is cast or steel, and he's going to offer you 15 to 18 cents per pound today. Now he's going to treat you a little better for the copper and the wiring that runs the length of the tube that is enclosed in insulation, and he's going to offer you about 80 cents per pound today. For the copper and the generator, there is a huge amount of labor extracting the baked, enameled wiring from the housing that surrounds it. The $2.60 per pound estimate used by the applicant's decommissioning estimate is a figment of their imagination. Steel up and down the WEX is going to have a bunch of labor to get it sized, put in trucks, and shipped to the same yard. Today's market is in the $180 range and not in the $370 range the applicant is attempting to impress upon you. Well, that's it. I took enough time to create new bids on 4 obvious line items. In doing so, the change in your bid is somewhat dramatic. The cost to the developer went from $36,977 in their decommissioning estimate to take down 1 turbine, and it was moved to $278,686. Now, just so I can remember, you did or did not get this sheet with the tally of numbers on it?
We have received that. That would be Newhouse 3.
Okay. So as you can see, under total revenue, removing what I consider inflated revenue and putting in current bids as of the last week, came up with a new total revenue of $7.5 million. And under expenses, I removed the expenses the applicant had in of $8.2 million, and I added in what I consider current market expenses of $33 million. That changed the net cost to $37,900,000, or $278,000 and change for each turbine decommissioned. Now, there are more items on the decommissioning proposal, and it is up to you to do some homework to dig it out. But I would like to make a few observations about the discrepancy between the applicant's numbers and mine. If the developer is right and $36,977 is the correct estimate, you're covered. And if I'm right, and that number is $278,000 and change, you are in a world of hurt. And I'm going to give you a worst case scenario. Now, there is a per turbine decommissioning number that may be huge, and for conversation's sake, I'm going to suggest it's closing in on $300,000. In 30 years' time, and I'm going to allow you to choose how much you want to inflate that number over 30 years. The year is now 2045, and Livingston County has a project that is done and is essentially ready to go away. It's time to decommission 136 turbines and supporting structures. My guess is that this project is going to be bought and sold at least 4 times to new operators. And the last one looks at the county bank and sees $36,977 of his decommissioning money set aside for relics. Now this company is an LLC. Who knows what limited liability means? The company makes its end-of-the-year disbursements to shareholders and quickly makes the prudent decision to bankrupt itself. Its loss of $37,000 per turbine of decommissioning is about 7 cents on the dollar. By that I mean it did not spend the real $500,000 or more per turbine to decommission this project. Let's take it a step further. The landowner looks out his or her window and sees a useless turbine 30 years old. The landowner didn't see this coming. And the landowner doesn't want the risk of this machine on his or her land, and he or she forms their own LLC around a small parcel with a turbine on it, and does the same thing the project owner just did. Now there is one more bankruptcy, and the county is one step closer to being the proud owner of a piece of property with equipment on it that will soon become a safety hazard. Somebody's going to pay, and I hope you will be ready. In the decommissioning pages, the applicant asserts that the aging turbines will have value after multiple decades. If that's the case, then the turbines of 30 years ago that are falling apart out in the California desert should have been upgraded instead of left to fall apart for all to see on the way to Palm Springs. My advice to you, call your gravel pits, call your scrap yards, call a large crane rental establishment, call some construction estimators employed by the companies hired to build these developments. Call some specialty demolition companies and sit down with your county engineer, get your numbers straight before you buy in this piece of decommissioning fiction put out by your applicant. When you are satisfied with your numbers, get the cash in the bank. Don't settle for anything less than an escrow account. Now, when you have your numbers right, hire a local independent engineer on the applicant's dime to verify the work. If you're unwilling to do your own calling, hire the engineer right away. If you've got an independent engineer hired, create a subcommittee with that engineer, your county engineer, your building inspector, and 2 or 3 other community members who will jump into the numbers and love every minute of it. All of them should be able to create a document you can hang your hat on. Under no circumstances use the applicant's engineer, who I will guarantee you will not get out of his office to contact a single specialist when putting this decommissioning document together. Please do not neglect bringing in a law firm that specializes in LLCs. Let them talk to you about how slippery an LLC can be when it wants to pick up and leave. Having cash in the bank is a good thing. Finally, your applicant makes a statement that there has never been a decommissioning of a large turbine. And so this is just an estimate at the beginning of his document. That is a wonderful disclaimer. And there is a reason there has never been a turbine taken down in the United States. At the moment one is removed in a decommissioning scenario, and an audit is taken of the true costs, everyone's going to realize there's going to be a lot of counties in a world of hurt, and this industry will collapse on itself. Thank you.
Mr. Blaken's going to grab that one document
Well,
from you.
and did you get 2?
I think you grabbed mine too. So it's got my writing. It's got my
That
writing.
I stated at the top of the final page, and then there's that one highlighted in yellow.
All right. At this point, do we have any questions for Mr. Newhouse? Do you want to do it now, or you want to? Oh, okay. All right. In the right order. Do we have any units of local government that have any questions for Mr. Newhouse? No units of local government. Okay. Mr. Blazer?
Just a few, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Newhouse. Are you still on the Boone County Board?
Not.
When did you leave the Boone County Board? You're going to have to talk into the mic. You might want to turn the podium around a little bit. There you go.
I chose not to run for a fourth term, and so I left the board in 2012.
All right. So today you're speaking as a private citizen, not on behalf of the Boone County Board, correct?
A private citizen.
Correct. And could you describe for us, please, your commercial construction experience?
The information that I'm providing you just comes from speaking with construction companies and assembling their numbers. I am a farmer by trade.
So, again, so do you have any commercial construction experience?
I have worked building houses on and off for multiple years, but commercial construction outside of that, I would say no.
Do you have any commercial decommissioning or dismantlement experience?
I do not.
In doing your research, did you speak to anyone at Michaels Corporation, M-I-C-H-E-L-S?
I did not.
How about Bolt Construction, B-O-L-D-T?
I did not.
Mortensen Construction?
No.
White Construction?
No.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Lukens, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Can I offer a qualifier on that, or am I done on this one?
On a qualifier on,
My assumption is the questions dealt with, have I spoke with any of these companies, assuming that these companies were local?
No, sir. I was simply asking if you had spoken to any of these companies, period.
Okay.
Without any assumption.
thank you. Okay. Interested parties in the audience, if you have some questions, come on forward. Give your name.
Dave Gulliford. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
In my going over the application, it appeared that there was some hazardous waste that was identified as part of the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And that included some hydraulic oil and also some transmission oil, or for the transformer oil, I guess, that was down on the base. And did you look at any of those scenarios of trying to get that out of there during the decommissioning and how that would be handled and the cost involved in that?
On this particular instance, I did not. There are multiple different turbines, some of them making use of hydraulic oil at the top, some of them not. I was not sure which particular turbine was going to be used here, so I didn't bother going into any of that analysis.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Anybody else? Anybody out there? Don't want to miss anybody. All right. County Council, County Staff. Joan, did you? Okay.
Were you involved in reviewing wind energy applications as a member of the Boone County Board?
We had a wind project that was proposed before our county board in 2006. That was, to my knowledge, the only one that we've had so far. We have pending developments. We have interest in the county, but to my recollection, that is the only one, and yes, I was involved with that.
Did that application pass?
That application did not pass.
What considerations did Boone County take in a review, I guess, when it comes to decommissioning?
I would have to say that I spearheaded that in our county. There is a proposed project, and within, I would say, 2 months' time, about 4 years ago, I had gotten 5 phone calls on it. 4 of them were from 4 different property owners who all happened to be relatives of mine. 2 had signed up their properties, and 2 were concerned about the project and were not signing their properties up. So I had a very personal interest as a board member to make sure that anything that I researched was done properly, along with other constituents. I did not want to take sides with any one relative over another. The 5th call was the one that got me started on the decommissioning issue. That was from a former classmate who is now a CPA in Chicago. She is also a landowner still in our county. She looked at the language in the contract being passed around to the property owners, saw the meager amount of decommissioning language, and informed me that these people, whether they knew it or not, were going to get killed. Financially killed. And you say really dumb things when you're trying to microphone. So at any rate, with that concern by her, she said, Marshall, you got to start looking into LLCs, you got to start looking into all the different areas that they are creating their bids for their decommissioning, and you got to start putting something together, otherwise these people are going to be in a world of hurt. So probably the work I did on decommissioning, putting language in our ordinance, was finally voted in after I had left office by about a month or 2 or something like that. But that was a huge concern. It was mine, and I wobbled around there. I hope I answered your question.
You mentioned be sure to put that the money goes into an escrow account. What were some of the other, what text amendment did you make to your ordinance as part of, with any of the wind energy?
If I understand your question correctly, there were 3 different methods for securing finances: escrow, bonds, and letters of credit. I went with escrow.
Is that what passed?
I am a simple old farmer. That's what I pushed for, and I had a majority of the board that went with me, and yes, escrow did pass.
Okay, nothing further.
Any other questions from our board at this point? Anything? All right. Mr. Newhouse, thank you.
My apologies for the mix-up on the papers.
No problem. We'll sort through that. We'll get that all worked out.
Thank you.
Have a safe drive back home. All right. Jim Gulliford, are you here this evening?
Yes, I are.
All right. Mr. Gulliford, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in this case now and hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for our court reporter.
Jim Gulliford, Gulliford, 300 North Pearl Street, Forrest. Everybody hear me all right?
I think we need to pull that closer.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Jim Gulliford, president of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Forrest. And as you've heard in these previous proceedings, on August 2014, the Village Board of Forrest voted to enter into an agreement with the Pleasant Ridge Wind Energy Group, which allowed the construction of turbines from 1.5 miles up to 1/2 mile of the Forrest municipal boundaries. We also agreed to defer all zoning, building, and other requirements of the Livingston County ordinances. We began considering the project with the initial contact from Energy back in the fall of 2007. We had plenty of time to think about the pros and cons. We researched our answers to our questions, and we also had folks who were not familiar with turbines go to a location of their choice and visit them up close and personal. Other questions such as health concerns, environmental effects, etc., were left up to each individual to research on their own. My personal observations were the experts on both sides of the issue had vastly differing opinions. So for me, it was a matter of who to believe, or better yet, what did common sense tell me? In my case, common sense told me that wind turbines have been around for 30 years. And if there had been any major health or environmental issues, I would have think the government would have this industry so regulated that a project like this would be almost impossible to do. In addition, there were several other energy projects within the area, and I have heard of none of these issues being problematic until we are about to consider one for the benefit of some of the residents of southeast Livingston County. So with that, the Board of Trustees, as they generally do as elected officials, put aside their personal opinions and biases and ask the question, what would be the benefits of such a project, and then who would benefit? The answer to the first question is the financial gain for the village of Forrest over the life of our agreement is $1,049,000. The second question is who will benefit? Be all the residents and the businesses in the village. The reason is that we are in phase one of a $5.4 million upgrade to our wastewater treatment facility, which was built in the 1930s. And this additional revenue should assure us that we can get at least through the first phase, costing $1.8 million, without a special assessment or an increase in our sewer rates to our customers. In addition, the 11 turbines will further increase the revenue for the county, our township library, our first responder and volunteer fire department, cell caps, and Prairie Central School District, along with some of the townships in the surrounding area. With that, the Village of Forrest Board of Trustees voted 6-0 to sign the mentioned agreement with Prairie Ridge Wind Energy LLC for the benefit of the community as a whole. Thank you for your time. Ask the zoning board to approve this project and present to the full county board for their consideration. And I would respectfully ask the county board in turn to approve the project to benefit most of the residents in southeast Livingston County.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to. Can we take a 5-minute break for a personal preference here of my own before we proceed? I need to use the washroom.
All right, let's take 10 minutes for right now. I've got 7:10. Let's take 7:20. Just so I can refresh where I'm at. There were no units of local government that had any questions for Mr. Gulliford out there. Don't see any. All right. Mr. Blazer, Mr. Luke Hands, we'll go ahead with questions.
No questions.
No questions. Mr. Blazer has no question. Mr. Luke Hands.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gulliford, I do have a few questions. Let me try and get through these fairly quickly. Did the Village of Forrest hire any experts to look at real estate values or health concerns?
No.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I read that the project is about the sewer project is about a $1 million project, I think you had said.
The total project is $5.4 million. Our first phase is 1.8.
Okay. And of that 1.8, how much of that's coming from wind energy?
None yet.
If the wind turbines are approved?
If the turbines are approved,
Yeah.
every penny that we get from Invenergy will go into the project.
Okay. And have you received any other funding, grants, et cetera, from the project?
No. Oh, what, excuse me, what, from where?
Other funding?
Yes, right now, we funding meaning we got a loan
Okay.
from the Illinois EPA
Okay.
that we have to pay back.
Okay. You didn't receive any grants, federal or state grants for this
No.
project yet?
No,
Have you applied for any?
no.
Are you here on behalf of the Village of Forest Board or on behalf of yourself tonight?
What was the second part of the question?
Are you here as a private citizen or as president of, or on behalf of the Village of Forest?
I'm here on behalf of the Village of Forest as a private citizen. How's that?
Okay. Did the rest of the board vote to approve you to come, or you just?
They didn't have to approve me to come,
Okay.
and I didn't ask them.
And you didn't ask them
No.
what they felt comfortable with you saying or not, one way or the other? Okay. Showing you what has been marked as UCLC Exhibit 101. That's the agenda from the August 4th, 2014 meeting, is that correct?
Right?
And that's the meeting where you passed the Invenergy agreement?
Yes.
And you said that you had been discussing this matter with Invenergy since 2007.
That was our first contact.
When was the first time the Village of Forest Board discussed this matter in public at a public meeting?
In 2007.
Okay. And when was, do you recall the next time after that was?
It was probably, after that meeting, it was probably about 2010.
Okay. And when was the first, and was this August 14th, 2014, the first time the village board had in front of it the Invenergy agreement, per se? The actual agreement to look at?
That's the first time that they agreed.
Okay. And the only description that was posted for the notice for this meeting related to the Invenergy agreement was new business Invenergy agreement, correct? There was no other discussion, no other description on your notice, etc. No statement as to what the Invenergy agreement said.
No?
No statement as to what, as to whether.
This is it.
Okay.
No statements.
No statements of any kind. Okay. Did you ask your lawyer, or did your lawyer advise the board that this complied with the Open Meetings Act?
Did he advise us?
That this minimal notice complied with the Open Meetings Act?
He gets a copy of the agenda, so yeah, but he didn't say anything.
Okay. So he hasn't
I
advised.
didn't ask him either, so.
Okay. So he hasn't advised the board in any kind of public that the Illinois Attorney General requires that there be a further description of what's going to occur at the meeting? Mr. Gulliford, I handed to you Pleasant Ridge Exhibit 8. This is a copy of the agreement between Invenergy and the Village of Forest, correct?
It looks like, yeah.
Okay. Let's start at the back page. I noticed that all but 5 of the years have a escalation percentage listed, correct?
Correct.
And all of those escalation percentages that are listed are 2.5%.
That's correct.
The other years, the escalation is actually much higher than 2.5%, correct?
Except for maybe 1 or 2, yeah.
Well, I mean, year 4 to 5, the escalation is about 23%.
Yep.
Year 9 to 10, it's about 13%. Year 14 to 15, it's about 8.7%.
Sure.
Okay, and year 19 to 20 is 24%, correct? Or approximately. Looks about right.
I didn't do the calculation, but I take your word for it.
Thank you. I hope, if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong by a lot. I can promise you I didn't try and do anything. Okay. Do you know what the reason for not including those years in the escalation was on the payment schedule?
That because I asked for that.
Because you asked for what?
I asked for it to jump to $2,000 at year 5.
Okay.
And $2,500 at the year 10. And $3,000 at year 15.
Did you also ask that they not include the escalation percentages for those years?
No, it was just a flat number that we agreed to.
Okay. So, let me get this straight. What occurred here was, in exchange for the village of Forrest not objecting to or trying to impose its zoning and building authority over the property between a half-mile and 1.5 miles, you were paid over, you're to be paid over $1 million if this goes through.
Right.
And besides that, you also agree not to obstruct, delay, frustrate, or oppose the project in any way or encourage any other party to do so, correct?
Right.
You also agree not to take any action directly or indirectly or encourage another party to take any action directly or indirectly with any governmental authority to oppose the issuance of the Pleasant Ridge of any permit, etc. Correct?
Right.
And that it will not oppose the placement of Pleasant Ridge of any project infrastructure, including but not limited transmission systems, substations, underground electrical collection systems, or access roads, regardless of the distance of any portion of such system from a village boundary. Correct?
Right.
So any of those things could even go within the half mile.
No.
Okay. So you're saying that the half mile is included even though that language says no matter where it is?
We agreed between 1.5 miles and a half mile.
Okay, but this section talks about regardless of the distance of any portion of such system from a village boundary. Do you see that? Page 2, paragraph B, the last sentence.
Okay. Whatever.
Okay, so that doesn't change anything.
That doesn't bother me.
No concern whatsoever.
No.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Gulliford.
Any other members of the community with questions of Mr. Gulliford?
Good evening. Just a couple quick questions.
Sure.
One of your statements was that you encourage the other members of the board to research on their own.
Yep.
Can you tell me specifically what research you did on the health effects of wind farms?
On the what effect?
The health effects of wind farms?
I did my own research on that.
Yes, can you tell me give me some examples of what you found or what you looked up?
I read a bunch of articles on the internet. And basically, just read another one tonight on the wind turbine syndrome. I think you talked about it the other night. And I guess I don't have a concern.
Okay. The second question I have is, you said that you used like common sense to kind of guide you, that the wind turbines had been around for 30 years.
Yes.
And the fact that there wasn't any government regulation of them, or
I didn't say government
regulation.
regulation. What I said was that it would be so regulated that it wouldn't make it possible to do one of these. That's what I said.
Okay.
There is government regulations, I understand that.
Yeah. Okay, well,
But if there's the health effects, and the environmental effects like we've heard at these meetings, then I'm sure that the government would step in. I don't think the CDC has recognized any health effects yet.
Okay. Just kind of, I was just thinking if I was using your common sense approach the way I interpret it anyway, tobacco's been around for long over 30 years, and tobacco generates revenue, taxes, so therefore I would assume that you would think that the County Board of Livingston County should support tobacco use by the citizens of the county?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What generates revenue?
Okay.
I've got hearing aids, so.
I'll try to make it a little bit clearer. What I'm getting at is, you to me, what you said, I interpret mean that you thought, based on common sense, the fact that turbines have been around for over 30 years,
right,
and was using that as a reason for not fearing or having any concerns with their being built. So I'm saying, well, tobacco's been around for over 30 years, and it generates revenue because it's taxed.
Right.
Then using that, should the County Board of Livingston County encourage its residents to support tobacco use?
To support what?
To use tobacco, since it's been around for 30 years.
You have to get up close to you.
Basically, tobacco's been around for over 30 years.
That I got.
Okay, it's taxed, so we get revenue.
Sure.
We get revenue from it. Using that common sense approach, shouldn't the Livingston County Board encourage tobacco use by the citizens of Livingston County?
That is a dumb question.
I'll take that to be a no. Just one quick follow-up question then. So would you agree then that the fact that there's not someone that you know personally who's ever been affected by a wind farm or anything, that therefore wind farms can't hurt anybody?
I didn't say wind farms couldn't hurt anybody. I said I don't believe that the major health effects that have been discussed here are valid. I'm 72 years old, and I've got headaches, I've got nausea, I got heart problems, I got everything that's listed that you guys talk about, and I haven't been around a wind farm, except for, 10, 12 miles away. And I don't know if anybody's died from a wind farm. I don't know if anybody's been hospitalized from a wind farm.
So therefore, they definitely can't hurt anybody.
I didn't say that. There are some people that will get a headache, maybe. But, I can't determine that. It's their word, that, hey, I got a headache and it's because of the wind farm. I don't think anybody can determine that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the audience? Anybody else out there with questions? Mr. Gulliford? Please state your name for a court reporter.
Louis Breeden. Just background, I was on the Cullen board for 4 years, back in 94 to 98, I believe.
That's good.
We had an issue with wanting to put a sewer system in, and we called a town meeting. Do you think that would have been a good idea to call a town meeting to talk to all the people in the town about it that put you in office? And to give you background first, I do work on these wind farms. I'm not saying I'm against them. I've worked on 4 different ones. My problem is I'm on the edge of town. There are shadows that are going to come in my house.
Mr. Chairman, this is a question.
Do you have the?
That's what I got a question. Did you bring this so that the people of the town could come to a meeting and voice our opinions to you?
We had it on the agenda. The agenda is posted 48 hours before the meeting.
I understand that, but don't you think you should have called a town forum to address just the wind farm?
No.
Any other questions from the audience? Anybody else? I see a hand out there. Please state your name for the record.
And Bureau Cavazos. Hello, Mr. Gulliford.
Hello.
I don't know if you remember me or not. Used to work at Home Shield.
Okay.
I do have to say, in his defense, he's always been very respectful and very nice man to me and anyone I've known at Home Shield. Thank you for that. But I did want to ask you, I don't know how many board meetings you've been to, but there has been a lot of information come out about the effects of windmills. And I am affected by these windmills, so is my daughter. And there are other people in this room that are, that won't say who. That's up to them. Some have testified. This is pretty new technology. And I believe that you didn't do anything malicious, nothing on purpose, but I do believe you're misinformed.
Well, I did say that some people would be affected. You know, I don't disagree with that, but I don't believe that there will be a mass infection.
No, I believe. Okay. That's the whole point of this. Is a lot of people, I think, don't believe it because most people aren't affected. But the ones that are, they don't have to have any other proof other than that.
Right.
But I guess I just, first of all, didn't know if you'd been to all the board meetings to hear.
I started coming in November and been on to all of them until January 22nd. And when I went to Phoenix on January 22nd, and I came back Saturday, so I missed a few of them in between January 22nd and Saturday.
You're welcome. I wanted to thank you for hearing me. And, you know, I just want you to know that there are people that are affected.
Understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the audience have any questions? Anybody out there?
Hi, David Slagle from Fairbury. I'm on the city council, but I didn't ask approval either, so I'm going to speak personally today. But I just wanted to ask you, did you give any thought to the fact that the windmills being within a half mile of town is going to kind of limit this growth of the town, business or residential wise?
Well, we have the growth of the town, we haven't got much land left anyway. We have a little bit on the northeast corner, but that's basically it. Everything else is surrounded. We're surrounded by farmland or creeks.
Right. There is always an area along the highways that you know, businesses could expand out on. Those businesses would bring in revenue to the city also, say a new, or even a new residential park, even, or you know, just one business will bring in a substantial amount of revenue to the city, let alone a subdivision or something that would have been built potentially that now couldn't be because of the closeness of the wind turbines. And I was just curious.
You're saying that because of the wind turbines, we'll never get anybody to move into town?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the footprint of your town is now limited. And that could cause you more loss in revenue, tax revenue, than you're going to get from the wind turbines. And my question was whether you gave that any thought before signing the contract.
Like I said, we were kind of landlocked anyway, so we're not going to expand very much.
Any other questions from the audience? Do we have any questions?
Will the village of Forrest get their $1 million up front, or is it over a period?
It's over a period. It's an increasing amount. Starts out low and ends up high.
County staff, county council, anything? All right. Mr. Gulliford, thank you. Is Ron Schneeman available this evening?
Oh, could I say one thing before I go?
On behalf of the community?
Well, no.
On behalf of yourself?
I was kind of disappointed that some of the stuff didn't come up tonight, but there was a email circulated today from the group.
Mr. Cornell, I mean, I don't want to reopen cross-examination.
Right, it would be a whole other battery of questions. I think we, unless it's in the greater interest of the community of Forrest, that would probably be the only acting as the mayor of the community.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Ron Schneeman. Schneeman, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in this case now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for a court reporter, and you may begin.
My name is Ron Schneeman. My address is 16332 East 2000 North Road, Pontiac, Illinois. I am a lifetime resident of Livingston County. I farm on the north end of Pontiac, and I'm also a local 150 operating engineer. I have worked on 2 wind farms, one in LaSalle County and the other one in Lee and Bureau County. I worked on many crews on that farms. And which entailed the unloading crews of the towers, the erection crews, dirt work, and the tiling crews when we were getting towards the end of the job. I made roughly $175,000 in the height of the recession in 2009, and right now I work in LaSalle County. I think in Livingston County, we need to bring businesses in to bring in new jobs. And I feel that the new revenues needed because the state budgets are taking money away from our schools. I have relatives near the Cugie Ridge Wind Farm, and they are having no complaints at all. I've worked on these farms. I've talked to people that live around them and have been around them, and I feel these are good for our county, and I hope the Livingston County Board approves this project.
Thank you, Mr. Schneeman. Do I have any local government have any questions? All right. Mr. Blazer, any questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Lucans, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple, Mr. Schneeman. Thank you for coming. It is important. You would drive every day from Pontiac to Lee, Bureau, etc., right? LaSalle. And I apologize, I never said this. You're currently working at LaSalle?
Yep.
So how far do you drive every day to get there?
50 miles one way.
Okay. And Lee, Bureau, how far is it?
It was 90 miles one way.
Okay. So you would drive, get up at whatever time, early in the morning, very early, drive out there, do your job, come back home.
Yep.
Every day.
Pretty much, unless we work too many hours, and then I would stay.
Okay. But the plan at least was to get your tail home every night, hopefully your family, right?
Yep.
do you know how many operators there are that they use on like the LaSalle wind farm that you're working on now?
Well, I'm actually at a sand pit now.
Oh, okay, you're not, I'm sorry. Yeah. But when you did let's say the LaSalle wind farm, do you know how many people from Local 150 were on that project?
Oh, geez.
There's a lot, right?
I'd say 50 or better.
Okay. Do you know what percentage of them came from Livingston County, like yourself?
I can't say that.
Okay.
I can name off every bit of 10 that I know right offhand that I wasn't big job.
Yeah, obviously, very good job. To your knowledge, are there enough operators in Local 150 in Livingston County to do that big a job here?
To man the whole job?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
They'd have to come in and do exactly what you did when you did the Lee and Bureau projects, correct?
Right.
Okay. You said your relatives live near Cuyahoga Ridge. How close are they to the nearest turbine, you know?
I would say 1,000 feet.
Are they participants in the project?
No.
At 1,000 feet? Okay. And
they're across the road. Their farm's in the middle of a small farm, and then across the road it's 500 or so feet in from that road. So.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Any other members of the audience have any questions? Mr. Schneeman? Anybody out there? Do we have any questions for him? County Council, County staff? Mr. Schneeman, thank you. Dwayne Durham. Dwayne Durham, are you available this evening? Mr. Durham, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in this case now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may begin.
Okay. Now, I see a lot of you out there that know me. I've been a member of Livingston County my whole life.
Mr. Durham, stop. Sorry, my bad. Can you state your name and address for our reporter?
Okay, Dwayne Durham, 304 North 6th Street, Chatsworth, Illinois. I grew up in this county my entire life. I'm 56 years old. I've lived was born right here in Fairbury, Illinois, 1958. I've lived in a few different places, from Chatsworth to Pontiac, but I've lived in Chatsworth pretty well most of my adult life. I do care what happens around here. I worked for a lot of different businesses and people around here. Local farmers, gave me a lot of work here and there. I've raised 2 kids here in the Prairie Central School District. They both graduated from here, and I got 4 grandkids that go to Prairie Central today. I've always tried to be a member of this Prairie Central School District. I coached t-ball, softball, and CFL football most of my way through. So I would never do anything or go for anything that I thought would endanger my kids or my grandkids or anybody else that I know. I know a lot of farmers around this area. I've worked for several of them, like I told you, off and on, odd jobs. I wouldn't want to see anything happen to the land around here. My son, who actually works for the Odell Wind Farm, been there maybe 2.5 years now. It's a very good job for him. He's made good money at 25 years old. He's bought his first home. Before that, he was traveling many miles for his job. Out of state, Iowa, he worked on cell towers. Got paid very little for what he did, 300 and 400 foot in the air. He came back home and said, "Dad, I want to get a job at this wind farm." He worked 6 months at trying to get a job there, and he got one. He's been there 2.5 years, and like I said, he's made very good living there in the 2.5 years he's been there. Got a lot of training, learned a lot about electricity and different things. He told me in a conversation that there are 10 people in Livingston County that work there with him. There's one from Pontiac, 2 from Odell, 2 in Dwight, 1 in Solomon, 2 in Streeter, and then you can add a secretary from Streeter that works there, and of course himself that lives in Chatsworth. So that's 10 jobs. Might not be a lot to some people, but these young kids, you know, they're going to have a future hopefully with this. One guy even moved down from Amboy and moved here and bought a house in Dwight. So I think that, you know, it shows that there are jobs to be had there. I'm also, like Ron before me, in the local 150 operating engineers. I started my first wind farm in 2009. Fortunately, it was a very good job for me. It turned out to be very good. I made really good money, and right before that, I was really in a slump in life. Some that you know that know me know that I was pretty rough times back right before that. It pulled me out of the slump with a very good paying job. I worked there, I don't know, I think it was October or November of 2009, and I was asked to move on, asked to go to another wind farm in Bureau County. And I drove it too. I drove many miles to these jobs to have a good job and pull myself ahead out of the slump that I was in. I made good money also there. I worked, I don't know, for approximately 2 months, got laid off, went back in the spring and worked the whole year of 2010 there. Got laid off again in 2010 from weather, went back in 2011, early spring, and I realized there wasn't many of us there, not near as many that was there before. Well, I found out when I got there, our job was to clean up the mess that we need to clean up as far as to make the farmer satisfied for what we've done. We fixed tile, we put new culverts in, we cleaned drainage ditches that we even had nothing to do with to keep drainage good. We had farmers complain that they had low spots in their field that were never there. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But we took care of them. For 6 months we went back and I don't know how many there was, I can't even say, maybe 20 or 30 of us. And that's all we did, was we worked for the farmer. We repaired what damage they say we did or didn't do, but we repaired it before we left. They wanted to leave on good graces, you know. So I think the farmers were happy. I happened to stop back there. I think it was January 30th. I was happy to be in Rock Falls. It was a small community where I stayed, and talked to some of the farmers just this year. Asked them now that we're gone, what did they think of the wind farms? I never heard one complaint. I didn't talk to all of them, of course, but I talked to several of them. They seem to be very happy with the wind farm there. They seem to be happy that we took the time to go back for 6 months or 5 months, whatever it would be, and we fixed what needed to be fixed before we left. So, you know, I believe, and I hope the board believes, that I believe wind farms are a good thing. I believe we got to look to the future. You know, what's good for all of us. And I care about my grandkids, my kids, and I hopefully someday, you know, it becomes the right move and it gives our kids a better place to live and a healthier place to live. I believe in wind energy, and I just believe that we need to keep moving forward with this to give ourselves a better place, give people good jobs. I don't know how many actual union members we have in Livingston County, but I'm going to take a stab, 150 to 250 maybe, in Livingston County alone. That's just 150 operators. That doesn't count the laborers, the electricians, you know, the iron workers. I'm sure there's several more people right here in Livingston County that do this kind of work. And I believe we need to bring work to this county for everybody. And I don't have to drive 80 to 100 miles. I'm not saying I would be on that, but I have an opportunity to possibly be on that and could drive 10 minutes to work rather than an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. And With that, I just think we need to move on, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Any units of local government questions from Mr. Durham? Nobody? Mr. Blazer?
No, sir.
Mr. Lupians?
A couple, Mr. Durham. You said you went to work for a wind farm or a company doing a wind farm in 2011. If you said which wind farm that was, I missed it. I apologize.
I was in the Bureau County Wind Farm in 2011.
And who was the operator?
White Construction that's who I worked under.
Okay, but do you know who the operator that was?
I should, but I know I don't. I can't think of it. Okay. The name of the company.
It wasn't in Energy, though, correct?
I don't think so.
Okay. And you talked about there's a number of local 150 operators in Livingston County, and I'm sure there are. Many local 150's got a very broad umbrella. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay. They go from everywhere to surveyors to operators of heavy equipment and everything in between, correct?
Yes.
Many of those local 150 members have permanent full-time jobs already, correct?
I cannot say that. I don't know. I've never had a permanent full-time job.
Okay. But if you're an operator, many of those are already working at places like gravel pits, etc., doing the
Correct.
operation. Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Anybody in the audience with questions for Mr. Durham?
Oh, I don't think I'll use the microphone. I think I can talk loud enough.
Yeah.
Just one real kind of quick thing you can clarify for me. You'd said you were talked to people that were in the wind farm, and none of them had any complaints with them?
There were people of Ohio, the town of Ohio, which is a small town in between Princeton and Dixon, and that's where we built the wind farm a mile or two out on a lot of these farmers' ground. And yeah, I talked to the local farmers who actually own the land where the wind farm or a tower they might have was there.
So the people that you're talking about, talked to were participants in the wind farm, correct?
Correct.
Did you talk to any non-participant homes near turbines?
I was there, yeah, I talked to several. Did we talk to turbines? No, none of them seemed to have a complaint though. And believe me, I was there for 2.5 years. It's a small community of 400 people. If there was somebody who wanted to complain, they would have complained to me.
Well, some people are that way.
No.
Some people are not. Thank you.
For the record, that was a series of questions was from Mr. Hayes. All right. Any other questions from the audience? Any other questions? Fellow board members, any questions? County staff, county council. All right, Mr. Durham, thank you.
Thank you. Brian
Olson available this evening. Mr. Olson, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in this case now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for our court reporter, and you may begin.
Brian Olson, Pontiac, Illinois, 711 North Main, resident of Livingston County. I would just like to say that I have worked on a wind farm before. I'm a local 150 operator. It did get me through a hard time. I thought it was great work, and I'd just like to have that work around Livingston County again. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Do we have any school districts, units of local government? Mr. Blazer?
No, sir.
Mr. Lupians?
No, sir. Thank you.
Any members of the community or audience that would like to ask a question? Oh, do we have any questions, Mr. Olson? County staff, county council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brent Johnston, are you available this evening? Any takers on that? Carol Wabel, you available this evening? Carol Wabel, W-A-I-B-E-L, Weibel. Nope. All right. Dan Betts, are you available this evening? All right. With that, I understand that the weather outside's getting bad, worse. I think it's a good opportunity. It's 8 o'clock. I know it's shorter than normal. I know everybody's going to be really disappointed. I think at this point we're going to take it and we're going to go ahead and motion.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Burford was, I think, in line to testify on the list that Mr. Blakely gave me. I think she'll be very short. I'm sorry, what?
Is there, do we know about how long on
Oh,
Burford?
this is going to be less than 5 minutes.
It is?
Yeah. It's
Okay, all right, sorry. Okay. Willa Verkler. Ms. Verkler, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give in this case down here shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record, and you may begin. If we could keep it down in the audience too, please.
Willa Berkler, 24370 East, 500 North Road, Fairbury. My ancestors settled in Livingston County in 1830. That's 185 years ago, on our farm, Spence Farm, which is south of Fairbury. They were the first permanent white settlers to live in Livingston County. My family has farmed this prime farmland ever since. We have some of the blackest, most productive soil in the world. My son and his family continue to farm this farm, raising heirloom plants and heritage animals. How would it look to have wind turbines near us? It just wouldn't fit. Why would we ever put in large pads of concrete to build these wind turbines and ruin our prime farmland and destroy our beautiful view in this country? There are many other issues that concern me. However, the health and the welfare of my family, my neighbors, my friends is very important. I understand there could be impacts from health standpoint. Why would we ever take this chance? In my opinion, this project does not comply with the standards of special use. Number one, by putting prime farmland out of production, it violates the Livingston County Comprehensive Plan and the Livingston County Zoning Ordinance. Number two, it will be detrimental to our public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. Number five, it will injure the use and enjoyment of other property. And number six, it will hurt the growth and development of our community. I respectfully request that you do not allow these turbines to come to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Verkler. Any members of local government questions? Mr. Blazer?
No, sir.
Mr. Luke Gans?
Yes, sir. Before we start, Mr. Berkler, what's your address?
24370 East 500 North Road, Fairbury.
I had handed you UCLC Exhibit 104. Is this an aerial view of your property?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And can you tell us how large your property is? Approximately.
I have just a little over 3 acres of land.
Okay. And do you farm that property?
No, I do not.
Do you use it for any commercial use whatsoever?
No, I do not.
It is strictly your residence, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? For the record, I hope Mr. Blazer will stipulate that this property, and if he doesn't do it today, I think Mr. Hankard can confirm it. This property is receptor 38 on Mr. Hankard's chart. The property that's yours on UCLC Exhibit 104 is, it's the small rectangle just south of the road, 500 North Road, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's surrounded by farmland, but that farmland's not yours, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And do you use that property for anything other than your own personal residential use?
No, sir.
Nothing further, thank you.
Any members of the audience have any questions for Ms. Berkler? Anybody out there? Nobody? Do we have any questions for Ms. Berkler? County Council, County staff, no questions for Ms. Berkler? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, do we have an update on the Regional Planning Commission recommendation?
We'll present that at the March 10th meeting.
All right, March 10th meeting, we'll present the Regional Planning Commission recommendation. Okay, so just to again review, we have dates for the 10th, the 16th, the 18th, the 30th, and the 31st of March. Just as a side note, just so that we all know, this board will meet on the 5th. There again, not to discuss Pleasant Ridge application, but rather we'll discuss some other cases before us at that point. So nothing in regards to this, other cases completely on that night. All right. I hope everyone drives safely home. Take your time. With that.